In 1955, every 10-year-old boy in Muncie, Indiana could oil the bicycle chain in the rain. Today, almost none can. It is a Tuesday evening in the summer of 2002. The garage door is open at 1412 East Charles Street. Art Henning is 71 years old, retired from Delco Remy, and he is kneeling beside a 1956 Schwinn Black Phantom. The tank of 3-in-1 oil is in his right hand. His grandson, age 9, sits in a lawn chair at the edge of the concrete, watching. The Sturmey Archer 3-speed hub clicks when Art turns the pedal backward with his left palm. Inside the house, behind the screen door, a mantel clock is ticking in the living room. It is the kind of clock that belonged to Art's mother. It has not been wound in a week. The pendulum is still. The boy does not know yet what that sound will mean to him. The man the boy will become is being decided right now, in this garage, in what he is allowed to touch. There are 31 of these lessons. They are not tips. They are not hacks. They are the small, repeated acts of trust that built a boy into a man who could finish what he started. By the time we reach the last one, you will see the single muscle the other 30 secretly trained. Subscribe before we get there, because item number 1 is worth more than the other 30 combined. Number 31. Oiling the bike chain without being asked. It is spring of 1955, Muncie. Art is 9. His grandfather has just ridden the Schwinn back from church in a light rain, and the rear chain is streaked with road grit. The older man sets the bike on the kickstand, walks into the kitchen, and comes back with a small tin of 3-in-1 household oil and a single sheet of paper towel. He does not ask Art to help. He says, "Hold the rear fender." The boy holds it. The grandfather turns the pedal backward with one hand, lets a single drop fall onto each link of the chain, wipes the excess from the derailleur pulleys, drops the paper towel into the paint can marked oily rags. Total time, 4 minutes. The chain turns black and quiet. In 2024, a 9-year-old who picks up a bottle of oil in a school makerspace is stopped by the room aide, given a safety briefing, and his parents are called. The bottle is confiscated until a parent signs a tool waiver. The boy is not in trouble. He is being protected from a drop of mineral oil on a cotton rag. The grandfather taught the tool. The school taught the waiver. The boy learned which one is trusted. The chain you oiled in the rain is the same chain that holds in a storm. We will get to that. Number 30. Walking to school alone. 1949, Levittown, New York. Art is 7. The distance from his front door to the kindergarten gate of the North Village School is 1.1 miles along Hempstead Turnpike. He walks it every day with a Roy Rogers lunchbox in his left hand and a nickel in his right pocket for the milk program. There is no adult walking with him. There is no adult watching from a parked car. His mother is inside the house ironing. The crossing guard at the corner of Hempstead and Gardner Avenue nods once when he passes. That is the only supervision. Between 2019 and 2023, Child Protective Services in 3 different states opened investigations on parents who let a second grader walk 1 block home from a bus stop. No child was harmed, no child was lost. The case files are public. In at least one, the parent was required to complete a 6-week parenting course before the file could be closed. The trust was not removed because a child was hurt. It was removed because an adult imagined a child could be. The lunchbox weighs almost nothing when no one is watching you carry it. Remember that. Number 29. Whistling for the dog after dark. 1947. A farm 2 miles outside Muncie. The dog is a black and tan coonhound named Driver. The sun is down. The boy is standing on the back porch in barn boots. His grandfather is at the kitchen sink. The old man cups his hands, tilts his head back, and whistles 3 rising notes, a half step apart, the second one held. The sound carries across the south field, over the corn, into the tree line. 40 seconds later, Driver comes crashing through the stalks. He is wet. He is tired. He has been on a rabbit for an hour. The whistle is the leash. The whistle is the recall. The whistle works because the dog has heard it 5,000 times. In 2022, a parent in a Columbus suburb posted a photo of two boys, aged 10 and 12, walking their own dog on a sidewalk at 8:15 p.m. The post was titled, "Unattended Child. Has the neighborhood failed these kids?" The post received 412 comments in 24 hours. The family moved within the year. The dog was a rescue. The boys had walked that dog every summer evening for 3 years. The whistle that brings a tired dog home is the same whistle that brings a tired man home from a war. The grandfather knew. He did not explain. The dog will come back when he is called. So will the boy. So will the man. Number 28. Building a fire without matches. 1953, the campground at Camp Kicthawinwit, Anderson, Indiana. Boy Scouts of America, Troop 14, District Camporee. The grandfather is not a registered leader. He is a father of one of the scouts. He has a bow drill kit in a canvas roll, 4 pieces, a 4-inch hearth board of seasoned basswood, a spindle of the same, a handhold of sanded hickory with a small inset of soapstone for the bearing, and a socket of old elm. He sets them on a flat rock. He does not show the boy. He tells the boy the principle: downward pressure, rotary motion. The dust must blacken before the dust must smoke. 40 minutes. The boy gets an ember. The boy blows it into a small nest of inner cedar bark, then into a teepee of pencil-lead twigs. The fire is small. The fire is real. The match is in the older man's pocket the entire time. He never reaches for it. In 2023, a state park in Oregon held a family campfire night. A 12-year-old built his own fire by friction for the demonstration. The junior counselor, age 11, told him the park does not allow open flames. The boy was not allowed to light the fire he had built. The fire was put out with a hose. The counselor had been trained on the policy the previous Friday. The grandfather taught the principle first. The principle is the fire. There is a tool that teaches the same lesson with a steel edge. The boy at the curb in 1958 learned it in 40 minutes flat. Number 27. Sharpening a pocket knife on a curbstone. 1958, Muncie. The curb in front of the A&P on South Walnut Street. Art is 12. The knife is a case yellow handle Stockman, 2 3/4-inch clip point, given to him by his grandfather in September. The curb is granite, the same curb his grandfather used. The boy puts a drop of saliva on the edge, lays the blade flat, and pushes it away from him across the granite in long strokes, alternating sides, feeling for the burr along the entire length. 40 minutes. The knife shaves hair from the back of his left forearm. The grandfather stands 3 feet away, hands in his pockets, watching the boy's hands, not his face. In 2023, a 12-year-old in suburban Dallas brought a 1-inch Swiss Army keychain to school. The school district, under Texas Education Code 37.007, issued a mandatory 10-day alternative placement, then reduced to 5 after a hearing. The boy had used the scissors on the keychain to open a juice pouch. The case was reported in the Dallas Morning News. The boy was not charged. The boy was sent home. The edge that cuts the apple is the same edge that cuts the rope when the rope is around a man's neck. The boy who learns the edge is the boy who respects it. The boy is not afraid of the knife. He is afraid of the boy who has never been trusted with one. That boy is the next one in line at the hardware store. Number 26. Carrying groceries in a paper bag without a handle tearing. 1961. The Kroger store on Tillotson Avenue in Muncie. The boy is 13. The order is a half-gallon of milk, a loaf of Heilman bread, 2 cans of Del Monte peas, a pound of butter, and a head of iceberg. The grandfather hands the boy a single brown paper sack, the older kind, no handles, twisted paper at the top. The boy double bags it. The boy folds the twist over once, grips the folded edge with the 4 knuckles of his right hand turned up, the load cradled against his hip. The bag does not tear. The milk does not fall. The walk home is 8 blocks. The grip holds. In 2024, the same grocery trip is completed by a teenager pressing 2 buttons on a phone. The bag is a plastic tote. The tote is a paper bag. The paper bag is a delivery tote carried to the door by a driver in a white van. The boy does not learn whether his grip can hold because the bag is set down on the porch and the van drives away. The bag that does not tear is the same grip that does not let go of a man pulling himself out of a river. The grandfather tested the grip on the way home from the store. The next lesson is older. It was taught in a room full of men who had come back from a war, and the boy was not yet 9. Number 25. Knowing when a man is lying by his hands. 1946, VFW Post 1150, Muncie, basement room. The grandfather is 34. Art is 7. The men are drinking Stroh's from the bottle. The talk is about the Pacific. A veteran named Eddie is telling a story about Okinawa. The boy is sitting on a wooden chair by the door, eating a pretzel. The grandfather leans down and says low into the boy's ear, "Watch the knuckles, Artie. Never the eyes. A man can train his eyes. He cannot train his knuckles." The boy watches. Eddie's right hand is closed. The tendons in his knuckles are white. The story he is telling is not the story he is in. In 2021, a second-grade boy in a Portland public school was flagged for a social skills IEP because he looked at the teacher's hands during a read-aloud instead of her eyes. The teacher had been trained in a program called Zones of Regulation, updated in 2019, which lists sustained eye contact as a developmental milestone for age 7. The boy was not autistic. The boy was raised by a grandfather. The eye is the easy read. The hand is the honest one. The boy who learned that at 7 is the man who reads the room at 40. The grandfather's mantel clock in the living room at 1412 East Charles is still. The pendulum has not moved in 7 days. The next time that clock enters this story, the boy will be older, and the sound it makes will mean something very different. You think the tree in your backyard is just a tree. In 1955, it was a 38-foot classroom with no adult inside it. Number 23. Climbing a tree higher than the roof. 1955, the elm behind the garage at 1412 East Charles, Muncie. The boy is 9. The first fork is 8 feet up, easy. The second is 16, the limbs thicker, the bark rougher. The third is 38, above the ridge line of the slate-gray roof. The boy has been climbing this tree since he was 5. He knows which limb holds frost and which holds rot. He knows the one that groans in a southwest wind. His grandfather stands below, hands in his pockets, and calls up once in a flat voice that carries, "Pick your 3 points before you move." The boy picks. 3 points, 2 hands and 1 foot, or 2 feet and 1 hand. Then move. The boy picks them every time. He comes down at dusk, dirt under both knees, no argument, no injury. In 2022, a homeowners association in Fairfax County, Virginia, cited a family under Municipal Code Section 12.04b, a playground equipment ordinance rewritten in 1981 and copied verbatim into the county code after a lawsuit no one in the association could name. The citation was for a backyard wooden playset with a climbing wall topping out at 6 feet 4. The fine was $400. The playset was built by the boy's father in 2 weekends. The boy was 8. The boy could already climb a real tree. The playset came down in October. 3 points before you move. 2 hands, 1 foot. Then move. That is the geometry of every ladder, every roof, every fire escape a man will ever climb for the rest of his life. The next lesson does not require a ladder. It requires a shirt sleeve. Number 22. eating an apple off the ground. 1949. The orchard behind the Muncie house. 2 acres of wine sap and Grimes Golden on dwarf rootstock. The boy is 8. He has just dropped a half-eaten apple from the 3rd row. His grandfather is 6 feet away, pruning a spur with a Felco 2. The boy bends, picks the apple, and looks at the older man. The grandfather does not stop pruning. He says, "Wipe it on your shirt, Artie. The dirt is where the vitamins are." The boy wipes. The boy eats. The apple is warm from the ground. The bite is sour. The boy does not get sick. The boy has eaten off the ground in that orchard 40 times by the time he is 12. In 2023, a single unwashed strawberry in a school lunch line in Sacramento triggered a county health department inspection under the California Retail Food Code, Section 1143. The school entered what the principal's email, later obtained by a parent, called a code yellow. Cafeteria service was suspended for 90 minutes. The strawberry was thrown away. No child ate it. The boy who brought it from home was not in trouble. The boy who threw it away was the assistant principal. The dirt on a wine sap is not the enemy. The enemy is the system that punishes a boy for knowing the difference. The next lesson is colder. It happens on a Tuesday in January, and it involves a windshield. Number 21. Throwing a snowball at a moving car. 1962, McKinley Avenue, Muncie, after the first 2-inch snow of the season. The boy is 12. His grandfather is 47, home from the Delco plant on a half day. The two of them are shoveling the front walk. A black Buick Special slows at the corner. The grandfather, without a word, packs a snowball in his bare right hand, steps off the curb, and throws. The ball spatters soft across the windshield, just left of the driver's sight line. The driver, a man in a gray overcoat, does not even honk. He waves once with 2 fingers off the steering wheel and keeps moving. The grandfather laughs. The boy packs one. The boy throws. The boy misses. The grandfather laughs harder. In 2019, a 14-year-old in Cincinnati, Ohio, was charged with misdemeanor criminal mischief after a snowball struck the hood of a moving delivery van. The case, State of Ohio versus Minor, docket number 19-CRB-0-4-2-1-7, was dismissed after the boy's father paid $112 in court costs. In 2019, a 13-year-old in Aurora, Colorado, was ordered to complete 16 hours of community service for the same act. The driver was uninjured. The van had no dent. The snowball had been thrown from 30 feet. The grandfather threw the first one. The lesson is not whether to throw. The lesson is who throws first, and what it costs a boy to laugh at the right moment with the right man. The next lesson is quieter. It happens on the back porch, and the boy does not know he is being taught. Number 20. Whittling a stick while listening to an adult. 1957. The back porch at 1412 East Charles, after supper. The grandfather is carving a willow whistle with a 3-inch blade. The boy, age 11, is beside him with his own knife, working a piece of green cottonwood into a slingshot fork. The grandfather is talking about Korea. Not the battles, the cold. The way a canteen froze in a wool sock at 20 below. The boy listens with his hands busy. He does not look up. He does not interrupt. The willow curls fall into a small pile between his boots. When the older man stops talking, the boy does not ask a question. He waits. The older man resumes. The whistle is finished at dusk. In 2023, a 5th grader in suburban Atlanta was screened for ADHD under DSM-5 criteria, Section 314.01, after his teacher observed him fidgeting with a pencil during a 40-minute reading block. The screening, paid for by the school district, recommended a parent consultation. The parent declined. The boy was not diagnosed. The boy was a whittler. The boy had been working the same piece of cedar for 2 weeks. The hands that fidget are the hands that are listening. The boy who can carve a willow whistle at 11 is the man who can hold his own silence at 40. The next lesson is louder. It involves a baseball, a grandfather's right hand, and a reason gloves were ever invented in the first place. Number 19. Catching a baseball barehanded. 1953, Athletic Park, Muncie, the back diamond behind the grandstand. The boy is 9. His grandfather is on the pitcher's mound with a taped-up baseball and no glove. He underhands the first one. The boy flinches. The second one, the boy traps against his stomach. The third one, the boy catches with both hands, palms up, fingers spread, and feels the red stitches rolled across the meat of his right thumb. The grandfather calls out, "Feel the spin, Artie. Then you'll never miss the glove." The boy catches 40 more. His right palm is red. His thumb is bleeding at the cuticle. He has learned the spin. He will never miss the glove again. In 2021, a Little League coach in Hillsborough County, Florida, was removed from coaching by the Babe Ruth League district safety officer after a parent complained that the coach had run a 3-minute bare hand drill with 8-year-olds on a Saturday morning. The coach had been a volunteer for 11 seasons. The drill had been used by Major League outfielders for 60 years. The coach was reinstated in March. He did not run the drill again. The stitches on the baseball are the same stitches the grandfather felt in 1946 on a veteran's knuckles in a VFW basement. The boy who feels them at 9 is the man who reads them at 50. The next lesson is older than baseball. It happens on a river in May, and the absence note is written in a hand the boy will imitate for the rest of his life. Number 18. Skipping school to go fishing 1 day a year. 1956, the White River, North Bank, just above the old iron bridge. May 14th, a Tuesday. The boy is 10. His grandfather picks him up at 8 in the morning in the Ford. The rod is a 6-foot cane pole with a Zebco 33 reel lashed to it with electrician's tape. The line is 4-pound test. The bait is a night crawler threaded on a number 6 hook. The grandfather has already written the excuse on a slip of lined paper in fountain pen in his own hand. Art Henning was absent due to family necessity. He signs it. He folds it. He puts it in the boy's shirt pocket. They fish until noon. The boy catches 1 channel cat, 14 inches. The grandfather cleans it at the ramp. They are home by 1. The note goes on the kitchen table. The mother says nothing. In 2023, an unexcused absence in the state of Ohio under Ohio Revised Code 3321.13 can trigger a court summons for the parent after 3 unexcused days in a single grading period. 28 states have similar statutes. In 6 of those states, the parent can be jailed. The boy who misses a Tuesday of school to learn where a channel cat lives in May is, in 2023, a boy whose mother could be let out of the house in handcuffs before lunch. The note in the shirt pocket was not a forgery. The note was the lesson. A man who signs his name to a small lie about a small absence is teaching a boy that some days are worth more than the desk. The next lesson is the only one in this part that ends with a laugh. The grandfather laughed out loud, and the boy is still laughing. Number 17. Taking apart a lawnmower to see what is inside. 1960, the shed behind 1412 East Charles. The boy is 14. The mower is a 1959 Lawn Boy, model 3352, 2-stroke, 21-inch deck, $29 new at the hardware. The grandfather backs it onto a clean cotton bedsheet pulled from the linen closet. He hands the boy a number 2 Phillips, a 3/8 socket, and a coffee can to hold the bolts. They work for 2 hours. The carburetor is off, the flywheel is off, the reed valve is off. Under the carburetor, packed into the throat, is a mouse nest. 3 pinkies, no eyes yet. The boy does not flinch. The grandfather does not flinch. They put the carburetor back. They put the flywheel back. They put the reed valve back. They pull the cord. The mower fires on the second pull. The grandfather hands the boy a Coke from the icebox. They sit on the tailgate of the Ford and do not speak for 10 minutes. In 2023, a 16-year-old in Wake County, North Carolina, applied for a summer job mowing lawns. He was denied employment under federal child labor law, Fair Labor Standards Act, Section 570, enforced by the Department of Labor Wage and Hour Division. He had 600 hours of informal experience on a 21-inch push mower, starting at age 11. He had no certificate. He had no course. He had a memory of a mouse nest under a carburetor in a shed in Muncie. The law required a 40-hour certified course he could not afford. The law required a certificate his grandfather had never heard of in 1960. The boy mowed 0 lawns that summer. His grandfather mowed 5,000 starting at age 11, ending at age 78. The mouse nest under the carburetor was the lesson. The lesson was not the mower. The lesson was the boy's hands on the bolts and the older man's silence at the end of the cord pull. The next lesson happens on the 4th of July, and the fuse is short. Number 16. Lighting a firecracker on the 4th. 1958. The alley behind Riverside Park, Muncie, just after dark on the 4th of July. The boy is 11. His grandfather is 46. The firecrackers are 12 in a brown paper sleeve, ladyfingers, bought that morning at the Western Auto for $0.25. The grandfather lights the first one with the coal of a Camel cigarette held between his thumb and 2 fingers. The fuse is 2 inches. He hands the punk, a smoldering punk of kitchen twine, to the boy. The boy lights the second. The fuse hisses. The boy drops it into a coffee can half full of sand. The bang is small. The boy laughs. The grandfather lights the third. The boy lights the fourth. They burn 11 of the 12. The last one, the grandfather puts in the boy's shirt pocket, unlit, and says, "Save it for New Year's." In 2023, a 12-year-old in Cecil County, Maryland, lit a single legal sparkler, 1.5 inches long, in his own backyard on New Year's Eve. A neighbor called the non-emergency line. The boy was referred to juvenile arson assessment under federal law, 18 U.S.C. Section 844. The sparkler was legal under Maryland state law. The boy was not charged. The boy was assessed. The grandfather's brown paper sleeve of 12 ladyfingers, bought for $0.25 in '58, would in 2023 be a federal case before the first fuse was lit. The Camel cigarette, the punk of kitchen twine, the coffee can of sand, the brown paper sleeve. The lesson was the kit. The lesson was the older man's hand steady enough to light the first one and walk the boy through the other 11. The next lesson has nothing to do with fire. It has to do with 2 words a boy used to say without thinking. Number 15. Saying sir and ma'am to every adult. 1948, any store, anytime, Muncie. The boy is 6. The grandfather is at the A&P on Walnut Street buying a pound of coffee. The clerk, a woman named Mrs. Krull, asks the boy what his grandfather drinks. The boy says, "Coffee, ma'am. Black, please, ma'am." Mrs. Krull laughs. The grandfather does not laugh. The grandfather says low on the way to the car, "Ma'am is for any woman old enough to be your mother. Sir is for any man old enough to have been one. You do not skip either one." The boy does not skip either one. He says sir and ma'am in the store, at the gas station, at the post office, at school, at church, at the funeral home. He says them until he is 30, when the world begins to teach him not to. In 2022, a 6th grader in a California public school addressed a female teacher as ma'am in a written assignment. The district guidance issued in 2021 under California Education Code Section 221.5 instructed the teacher to correct the student for what the guidance called a potential gendering error. The teacher complied. The student was 11. The student had been taught the words by a grandfather in a state that no longer exists. 2 words, 3 letters each. The boy who learns them at 6 is the man who honors a room at 60. The boy who is corrected for them at 11 is the man who will not know how to enter it. The next lesson happens on 80 acres south of Muncie, and the boy is small for the seat. Number 14, driving a tractor at 10. 1954, the 80-acre farm south of Muncie on the road to Albany. The tractor is a Ferguson TO-20 4-speed gasoline with a 2-bottom plow on the back. The boy is 10. His grandfather, 61, lifts him onto the steel seat with one hand under the boy's right arm. The boy cannot reach the clutch with his left foot without sliding forward. The grandfather adjusts the seat forward by 2 notches on the rails. He shows the boy the clutch halfway in, the throttle set at quarter, the brake on the right. He says, "Don't you let her buck. She bucks, you let the clutch out slow and back off the gas. Don't fight her." The boy takes the wheel. The boy plows the south end of the 40 for 90 minutes. He does not let her buck. He comes back to the barn with dirt on his boots and a stripe behind him that is straight as a fence. In 2023, federal child labor agricultural regulations under 29 CFR Section 570, enforced by the Department of Labor Wage and Hour Division, prohibit the operation of any power machinery by children under 16. The fine for a single violation is up to $11,000. The fine for a supervising adult is the same. The grandfather in 54 would have been fined $11,000 for the 90 minutes it took to teach a 10-year-old boy how to feather a clutch on a Ferguson TO-20 in a field south of Muncie. The boy would have grown up unable to back a trailer, change a tire on a slope, or hold a straight line on a snow-covered road in a vehicle with a manual transmission. The clutch halfway in. The throttle at quarter. Don't let her buck. That is the geometry of every machine a man will ever run for the rest of his life. The stripe you mow in bare feet is the same stripe the man cuts in a shirt collar at 40. Pay attention to the feet. Number 13. Mowing a straight line with a push-reel mower. 1955, the front lawn at 1412 East Charles, Muncie. The boy is 11. The mower is a true temper 21-inch hand reel, 5 blades, wooden handles worn smooth as bone by 3 generations. The grandfather walks the perimeter first. He walks it twice. He does not tell the boy why. The boy follows in bare feet, 3 paces behind. Then the older man sets the handles into the boy's hands, adjusts the grip until the knuckles face forward, and walks back to the porch. He sits. He does not watch. He listens. The boy pushes. The reel clicks. The boy does not overlap the previous stripe by more than a hand's width. The boy does not stop at the fence. The boy turns inside the curb strip, the way the older man turned. The boy finishes the lawn in 52 minutes. The stripes are parallel. The footprints at the corners are his. The grandfather comes down off the porch, runs one hand across the second stripe, and says nothing. The boy learns that the report card was not the man's word. The report card was the lawn. In 2023, 96% of American lawns are cut by gas or electric-powered mowers. A boy who offers to mow a neighbor's lawn for $5 with a push reel is told by his own parents to stop doing that. He will get hurt. The mower is too heavy, the lawn is too big, the sun is too strong. The boy stops offering. The boy does not learn the stripe. The man at 40 does not learn the stripe. The man at 60 hires a man in a truck who learned it on a different lawn in a different decade, and the truck idles for 20 minutes at the curb. The feet on the wet grass at dawn are the same feet on a wet floor in a kitchen at 62, cutting a path between the stove and the sink without slipping. The grandfather tested the path in bare feet. The man walks it without thinking. The next lesson is older. It happened in a kitchen on a Sunday, and the boy learned what the shine meant. Number 12. Polishing shoes until he could see his face. 1950, the kitchen table at 1412 East Charles after the Sunday roast. The grandfather's shoes are Florsheim Imperial wingtips, black, long wing, leather sole. The polish is kiwi, brown 14. The brush is horsehair. The cloth is a square of old bedsheet. The boy is 8. The grandfather sets the right shoe between the boy's knees. He puts a drop of polish on the brush. He shows the boy the order, circular, then linear, then buff. He does not show the boy the shine. The boy earns the shine. 20 minutes on the first shoe, 20 minutes on the second. The boy holds the shoe up to the bulb in the ceiling. He sees his own face blurred in the toe cap. He has never seen his face in a shoe before. In 2022, the United States generated 17 million tons of textile waste, including leather, per the Environmental Protection Agency. The average American garment is worn 7 times before it is discarded. A boy who owns more than 2 pairs of shoes at once is, by global measures, in the top 3% of children on Earth. The number of working cobblers in the United States fell from 60,000 in 1950 to 1,200 in 2022. The boy at the kitchen table in 50 would have been, in 2022, a minor medical curiosity in a country that no longer remembers what a shine looks like. The face in the toe cap was not vanity. The face was proof. A boy who can produce that reflection at 8 can produce a clean windshield at 20, a clean countertop at 35, a clean record at 50. The grandfather did not explain. The grandfather handed the boy the brush. The next lesson has nothing to do with shoes. It has to do with a paper rectangle that smelled like a gas station. Number 11. Reading a paper map on a backroad trip. 1962. U.S. 35 north to Indianapolis, a Saturday in October. The boy is 12. The map is a standard oil road map of Indiana, free at the Esso station on South Walnut, folded into 36 panels. The grandfather unfolds it across the chrome counter at the diner in Kokomo. The boy holds the 4 corners. The older man's finger traces the route, then stops at a side road east of Elwood. He says, "Take this one. I've never been on it. We will see what is there." They take it. The road is 2 lanes, no shoulder, bordered by soybean fields just cut. They see a covered bridge, a 1-room schoolhouse, a man on a John Deere B waving once. The map is wrong twice. The grandfather does not blame the map. He says, "The road moves. The map is from June." In 2023, a teenager who looks at a phone map while crossing a street in a marked crosswalk is cited for jaywalking under municipal ordinances rewritten in 2018 in 214 American cities. A driver who unfolds a paper map at a stoplight on US 35 is, in 3 states, considered to be driving while impaired and can be requested to perform field sobriety tests. The boy who held the corners of a standard oil map in 62 would, in 2023, be a boy suspected of being lost in his own county. The map that is wrong twice is still better than the screen that is never wrong and never shows the covered bridge. The grandfather taught the boy to read the wrongness. The man reads it still. The next lesson is on a river. It happens before sunrise, and the boy flinches exactly once. Number 10. putting a worm on a hook without flinching. 1948, the White River, the sandbar north of the Iron Bridge. The boy is 7. The worm is a night crawler pulled from the coffee can at 5 a.m. It is cold. It is stiff. The grandfather holds the hook, a number 6 Abercrombie & Fitch, in his left hand. He holds the worm in his right. He shows the boy the threading motion. Pierce just behind the head, push the point through the first third, bring it out clean. He says, "You cannot feel the rest. The nerves are in the head." The boy tries. The worm tears. The boy tries again. The worm tears. The third try holds. The boy sets the hook on the cork handle of the cane pole. He does not flinch. He has flinched twice. He has learned the motion. In 2023, 14 state science standards, updated after 2003, allow a child to opt out of any classroom lesson involving a live animal. A boy in a 4th grade class in Madison, Wisconsin in 2022 declined to touch a worm during a soil science unit. The entire class was then offered the opt-out. 11 of 22 children opted out. The worm was released to the school garden. The lesson was rescheduled as a video. The boy who learned the threading motion at 7 in Muncie would have been, in 2022, the only child in the room who knew how the night crawler was built. The worm on the hook is the same stitch through a leather belt, the same threading of a needle through a shirt buttonhole, the same threading of a draw cord through a tent sleeve in a wet wind. The grandfather taught the boy to thread what flinches. The man threads what does not, and his hands do not shake. The next lesson is shorter. It happens in a kitchen on a Sunday morning, and the boy learns the word backstitch. Number 9. Sewing on a missing button that same afternoon. 1956. The kitchen at 1412 East Charles before church. The shirt is the boy's good blue Oxford, the one with the missing second button. The grandfather threads a 7-inch steel sewing needle with white cotton thread, ties a knot at the end, pushes the needle up through the back of the fabric, down through one hole of the button, up through the other, repeats 4 times. Then he runs the needle through the back of the button without going through the holes 4 times to make a shank. He cuts the thread. He melts the end with a match. The boy watches. The boy does the next one himself. 10 minutes including the threading. The shirt is ready. The boy goes to church in a shirt that will not come undone at the collar. In 2023, a man who owns a shirt with a missing button throws the shirt away. He replaces it with a new shirt from a site that delivers in 2 days. The replacement shirt cost $14. The repair would have cost 1 minute and a needle. The United States generates 17 million tons of textile waste per year, per the EPA in 2018. The average garment is worn 7 times. The button the boy sewed on in 56 held the shirt for 6 more years. The shirt the man replaced in 2023 will be worn 4 times before it is donated or discarded. The thread through the shank is the same thread through the eye of a fishhook, the same thread through the leather of a baseball glove, the same thread through the canvas of a torn tent. The boy who learned the backstitch at 10 is the man who mends what tears. The man who replaces what tears is the man who has never been allowed to learn the backstitch. The next lesson is in a back lot. The maul is heavy, and the boy watches more than he swings. Number 8. Splitting firewood with a single-handed maul. 1955. The back lot at 1412 East Charles, the first cold Saturday of October. The maul is a 6-pound plumb single-bit hickory handle worn to a polish at the swell. The block is a sweetheart poplar section, 16 inches across, set on the dirt at a 45-degree angle to the rows of red oak rounds. The boy is 13. The grandfather splits for 40 minutes before he lets the boy try. He splits the rounds into halves, the halves into quarters, the quarters into kindling. The boy watches the swing 100 times. The boy sees where the man sets his feet. The boy sees where the man lets the maul fall. The boy sees that the man does not muscle the maul. The man drops it. On the 101st swing, the boy holds the maul. The maul is too long for him. The grandfather shortens his grip by 3 inches. The boy drops the maul. The round splits clean. The boy does not swing again that day. He stacks what the older man has split. In 2023, Federal Youth Employment Rules in Forestry, 29 CFR Section 570.61, prohibit any minor under 18 from operating a splitting maul, even under direct adult supervision. The penalty for the supervising adult is a federal fine. The grandfather in 55 would have been fined for the 101st swing. The boy would have grown up unable to set his own winter stove, unable to stack a face cord, unable to understand the geometry of a wedge and a grain. The man at 50 hires a man in a truck to deliver 2 cords of split oak at $240 a cord, stacked in the driveway by men who learned the swing from grandfathers the boy in Muncie never met. The maul that splits the red oak is the same maul that splits the silence in a room where a man is expected to make a decision. The boy who learned the swing at 13 is the man who lets the decision fall at 53, without muscling it. The next lesson is older. It happens on a door that is swollen in July, and the sound it makes when it is right will return to a room where this whole story began. Number 7. Hanging a door so it swings true without sticking. 1959. The bathroom door at 1412 East Charles, swollen from the July humidity, rubbing the jamb at the top corner by 1/8 of an inch. The grandfather pulls the 3 hinge pins with the claw of a nail set and a block of scrap pine under the head. He lays the door across 2 sawhorses in the backyard. He planes the top corner with a Stanley No. 4 smoother, quarter turn per pass, testing the fit with his thumb after every pass. He rehangs the door with the same pins. He hands the boy a 4-foot level. The boy holds the level against the hinge style. The grandfather closes the door. The door clicks shut on the first try. The sound is even. The sound is the same even sound the mantel clock in the living room used to make, the one that has been still since the night the boy's grandfather began to wind it for the last time. In 2024, a handyman in Indianapolis charges $185 for the same job. The boy never learns the geometry of a hinge and a stile. The door is replaced within 5 years because no one in the house knows how to shim a hinge. The replaced door is hollow core, painted at the factory, hung on 2 screws per hinge. The door clicks shut, but the click is cheap, and the boy hears the difference. The geometry of the hinge is the geometry of every joint a man will ever set in his life, from a shelf bracket to a marriage. The quarter turn is the only unit of measure that matters. The boy learned it at 13 in the backyard. The man uses it without thinking at 60. The next lesson is the peak. It is the second time you will see the man from the opening of this story, and it is the last time. Number 6. The boy with the missing grandfather. 2002. Muncie. The garage at 1412 East Charles. A Tuesday in June. The same garage where this story began. Art Henning is 71. The Schwinn Black Phantom is on the kickstand. The boy is 9. The boy has just asked for the oil. Art looks at the can of 3-in-1. Art looks at the Schwinn. Art looks at the boy. The boy is wearing sneakers with Velcro straps because the boy has never learned to tie a shoe. The boy has never been outside after dark. The boy has never cut his own food with a knife sharper than a butter spreader. The boy has never waited 20 minutes for anything without a screen. The boy has never used a screwdriver unsupervised. Art sets the oil down on the workbench. Art does not say anything for a long time. Then Art says, You can have it, Artie. You don't have to ask first. The boy takes the oil. The boy holds it. The boy does not know what to do with it. The boy has never been allowed to do anything with it. The narrator names the pattern. Every one of the 31 lessons on this list had the same ending. The grandfather handed the boy a small risk and a real tool. The boy used it. The boy came back whole. The boy came back stronger. That ending is the part we stopped doing. Not the tools, not the matches, not the knives. The trust. The trust is the thing the schools cannot insure, the thing the lawyers cannot bill, the thing the screens cannot replace. The trust is the muscle no one names, and we have spent 30 years removing it from the hands of boys who were built to grow it. That is the slow theft the grandfathers of 1955 would not recognize. That is the part no federal statute will ever repair, because the statute is the wound. The Schwinn Black Phantom stands against the garage wall in Muncie, oiled, waiting for a boy who has not yet been born into the house where it leans. The mantel clock inside the house is ticking again. The pendulum swings. The sound is even. The sound is the same sound the door made when it closed true, the same sound the chain made when it turned quiet, the same sound a man's hands make when they finish a job no one else will ever see. Art Henning is 71. The boy is 9. The oil is on the workbench. The lesson is still possible. The lesson has not yet been lost. But the distance between the can and the boy's hand has never been longer than it is right now, in this garage, in this country, in this quiet Tuesday in June. The next lesson is about a boy at 15, a used car lot, and the price of a man who learned to ask. A boy at 15 who can negotiate the price of a used car learns more in one afternoon than a finance degree teaches in a semester. Number 5. Negotiating the price of a used car. 1963. The used lot on South Madison Street, Muncie. A Saturday in May. The boy is 15. The grandfather hands him $400 in 20s from an envelope in the glove box of the Ford and says, "There's a 1951 Chevrolet Style line on that lot. 2-door, blue, with a cracked passenger window. The man wants $185 for it. Go get it for less. Don't cheat him." The boy walks onto the lot alone. The salesman is a man named Lou, 61, with a corncob pipe and a clipboard. The boy opens with the cracked window. Lou says the window is a $5 part. The boy says the door panels are rusted at the bottom. Lou says the panels are surface only. The boy says the generator light comes on at idle. Lou takes the light off the price. The boy stands quiet for 10 seconds. Lou says, "Son, I got 140 in it." The boy hands over 4 20s. The boy signs the title in his own hand. The boy drives the Chevrolet home on a learner's permit, the older man in the passenger seat, both hands on his knees. In 2023, a 15-year-old cannot enter a binding contract for a motor vehicle in any U.S. state. The contract is voidable. The dealer can unwind the sale. The dealer can sue the parent. The boy has no legal standing in the negotiation. The boy cannot sign the title. The boy cannot hold the money. The boy cannot look Lou in the eye and say the panels are rusted at the bottom. The boy has been removed from the room where men learn what their word costs, and the room is the only classroom where the lesson was ever taught. The cracked window was not the lesson. The 10 seconds of silence was the lesson. The boy who can hold silence against a man twice his age is the man who can hold a boardroom at 45. The grandfather did not send the boy to buy a car. The grandfather sent the boy to learn what a man does when another man is waiting for his answer. The next lesson is shorter. It happens in a truck, and the engine ticks the way a clock ticks in a quiet room. Number 4. Waiting in the truck while an adult talks. 1957. The parking lot of VFW Post 1150, Muncie, a Saturday afternoon in September. The boy is 10. The grandfather is inside talking to a man named Roy about a job at the Allison plant. The boy is in the back seat of the 1953 Ford F-100, reading a Roy Rogers comic, listening to the engine tick as it cools. The radio is off. The windows are up. The boy is there for 1 hour and 12 minutes. He does not open the door. He does not honk. He does not walk inside. He reads the comic twice. He watches a man change a tire across the lot. He listens to 2 crows on the light pole. When the older man opens the door, the boy is not restless. The boy is not bored. The boy has learned the length of a real conversation between 2 men. In 2023, a child left in a vehicle for any length of time, in any temperature, for any reason, triggers a 911 call in 32 states under endangerment statutes added or amended after 1999. The man who calls the 911 does not know that the boy in the back seat has been learning patience. The man who calls does not know that the engine tick is a metronome for the rest of the boy's life. The boy is removed from the truck by a man with a flashlight and a clipboard. The boy is taught that waiting is a crime. The boy will spend the next 60 years unable to sit in any room, in any line, at any table, for longer than the phone in his pocket allows. The hour and 12 minutes in the truck was the price of admission to every board meeting, every hospital waiting room, every funeral home folding table the man will ever enter. The grandfather paid the hour. The boy paid the silence. Neither of them counted the cost. The next lesson is on a lake in a storm, and the boy thinks the story is over. Number 3. Tying a knot that holds a boat to a dock, 1964, Lake Manitou, North Pier, the second Saturday of July. The boat is a 14-foot aluminum Lone Star with a 5-horse Evinrude, the older man's since '58. The boy is 13. The dock cleat is a cast-iron 8-inch, mounted in the wood when the lake was dredged in '46. The grandfather hands the boy a 15-foot length of half-inch manila, the good kind, the kind that smells like tar. He says, "Tie it so you could sleep." The boy throws a round turn around the base of the cleat. The boy runs 2 cross turns up the horn. The boy finishes with 2 half hitches on the standing part. The boy pulls the standing part until the line sings. The grandfather looks at the cleat. The grandfather looks at the sky. The grandfather says, "That'll hold." They fish for 4 hours. The boy catches a smallmouth at 6 pounds. The grandfather cleans it at the ramp. At 3 in the afternoon, a storm comes up from the southwest, the kind that turns the lake from green to black in 10 minutes. The wind hits 50. The rain hits sideways. The grandfather drives the truck to the pier. The line is still tied. The boat is still there. The cleat has not moved. The boy has learned a knot. The boy thinks the lesson is the knot. Hold that thought. The boy who tied the knot learned the geometry of a half-inch manila on a cast-iron cleat at 13. In 2023, that boy would have been issued a U.S. Coast Guard personal flotation device of the correct size, signed a rental agreement, watched a 4-minute safety video, and tied a knot with a bowline he learned from a diagram on a laminated card. The rental boat would have drifted in the storm anyway. The man at the marina would have called the boat a total loss. The grandfather's boat, tied by a boy with a knot he could trust, rode out 50-mile wind on a North Pier in 1964 and went home on the trailer at dusk. The knot was not the lesson. The lesson was not the rope. The lesson was not the storm. The lesson was the boy who tied the knot in the morning and did not have to check it in the afternoon. That is the part the storm was for. To prove that the morning had held. To prove that the boy had been right. At 6 a.m. when he pulled the standing part until the line sang. The next lesson is older. It happens in a hardware store, and the man behind the counter is the last teacher the boy will meet before the lesson ends. Number 2. Walking into a hardware store alone and asking for the right part. 1955, Sears Roebuck on South Walnut, Muncie. A Wednesday after school in April. The boy is 14. He has a pencil drawing of a tractor part he cannot name, drawn on the back of a homework sheet, 3 inches by 4 inches, with the dimensions in the margin. The man behind the counter is a parts clerk named Frank, 63, who has worked in that store since the war. The boy lays the drawing on the counter. The boy says, "I need this for a Ferguson TO-20. It goes between the PTO shaft and the coupler. It is 3 7/8 inches across. I do not know what it is called." Frank looks at the drawing for 30 seconds. Frank walks to the catalog drawer under the counter, third from the left, runs his finger down the page, and pulls a K2617A bearing race from the drawer. Frank says, "That is a K2617A. It is $4.95. Tell your grandfather I said hello." The boy learns 3 things in that transaction. He learns that a drawing on a homework sheet is a valid document in a room of men. He learns that grown men will help a boy who shows up prepared. He learns that the part he could not name was named the moment he asked for it in front of a man who knew the name. In 2023, 88% of Sears retail stores are closed. A 14-year-old who walks into any remaining hardware store alone is asked by the cashier, "Are you lost?" The cashier offers the boy a phone to call his mother. The boy has the drawing. The boy has the dimensions. The boy has the part number if he had known to look it up. The boy is shown the door by a man who is not Frank. The man behind the counter in 2023 is the same age Frank was. The man behind the counter in 2023 has never been taught the catalog. The man behind the counter in 2023 has been taught the policy. The K2617A bearing race is still made. The part has a current SKU. The boy who would have known the part number cannot get past the front door. The parts catalog has been replaced by a phone. The phone does not know the drawing. The phone does not know the boy. The boy walks home. The drawing on the homework sheet was the ticket. The ticket is still valid. The door is closed. The lesson has been moved online. The lesson is no longer the lesson. The final lesson is older than the K2617A. It is older than the knot. It is older than the Chevrolet on South Madison. It is older than the hour in the truck. It is the lesson the other 30 were secretly training for. It is the lesson the boy at the workbench in Muncie in 2002 has not yet been allowed to earn. Number 1. Finishing the job when no one is watching. 1958, the back porch at 1412 East Charles, 11 p.m., a Wednesday in August. The glider is an iron-framed vintage porch glider, painted white in 51, now flaking to bare metal in sheets the size of playing cards. The grandfather tells the boy, before he goes inside to bed, "Strip the old paint off the glider before you go to bed. Use the wire brush. Put the scrapings in the can. Put the tools back in the drawer. Do not leave a mess." The boy is 11. The boy is in his pajamas. The boy takes the wire brush out of the drawer. The boy begins. 40 minutes. The boy's arms are red. The boy's shoulders are burning. The boy can stop. The boy can leave the glider half stripped. The boy can go to bed. The grandfather is inside. The grandfather will not check until morning. The grandfather will not know. The boy finishes. The boy puts the scrapings in the can. The boy puts the brush in the drawer. The boy puts the drawer back. The boy turns off the porch light. The boy goes to bed. The grandfather never mentions it the next morning. The grandfather never mentions it the next week. The grandfather never mentions it again in his life. In 2023, the boy at the porch in 58 would have been reminded by an alarm. The boy would have tracked the task in an app. The boy would have earned the digital badge. The boy would have shown the badge to a teacher. The teacher would have logged the badge in a portfolio. The portfolio would have been reviewed in a conference. The conference would have produced a note home. The note home would have been signed by a parent. The parent would have framed the badge. The frame would have held no wire brush. The frame would have held no bare metal. The frame would have held no 11 p.m. on a back porch in pajamas with no one watching. That is the muscle no one names. The capacity to begin something difficult and complete it when there is no audience, no grade, no reward, and no one to impress. The grandfathers of 1955 did not teach 31 separate skills. They taught one skill 31 times. The boy who could oil a chain in the rain could finish a paint job at midnight. The boy who could finish a paint job at midnight could finish a knot in a storm. The boy who could finish a knot in a storm could finish a transmission in a driveway on a Sunday in October when the rain came early and the wife was inside and the children were in school. The grandfathers knew this. They never said it. They did not have to. The boy finished. That was the lesson. That was the only lesson. The garage door is still open at 1412 East Charles. It is still a Tuesday evening in the summer of 2002. Art Henning is 71. The Schwinn Black Phantom is against the wall. The tank of 3-in-1 is on the workbench where the older man set it down. The boy is in the lawn chair. The boy is 9. The boy has not been born yet into the man who oiled the chain in the rain, who tied the knot in the storm, who stripped the paint at midnight. That man is 30 years old. That man is 45. That man is 60. That man is Art, sitting on a wooden stool in the garage in 2002, holding a rag with one hand, watching the boy in the lawn chair, waiting for the boy to understand that the can on the workbench is not a prize and not a punishment. The can is an invitation. The invitation has not been opened. The mantel clock inside the house is ticking again. The pendulum swings. The sound is even. The sound is the same sound the door made when it swung true. The same sound the chain made when it turned quiet. The same sound a man's hands make when they finish a job no one else will ever see. The sound has been in this house for 71 years. The sound will be in this house after the boy leaves, and after the man who was the boy has gone, and after the older man on the stool has gone. The sound does not care who hears it. The sound does not require an audience. That is the entire point. Those 31 things grandfathers taught grandsons before 1970 were not tricks of the hand. They were small, repeated acts of trust that built the muscle no one names. The grandfathers taught the muscle by handing over the can, the chain, the knife, the knot, the wire brush. The grandfathers did not grade the boy. The grandfathers did not badge the boy. The grandfathers did not call the boy's mother. The grandfathers walked away and let the boy finish. That is the part we removed. Not the tools, not the matches, not the knives. The trust. If your father or your grandfather taught you one of these, tell us in the comments which one and what year. If you are the grandfather, tell us which one you are teaching this month. We read every one. Next week, we go to the 42 things a man could fix on a Saturday morning in 1965 that no man under 40 has ever been allowed to touch. And that list is longer and heavier than this one. Subscribe so you do not miss it. The man who can finish a job no one is watching is the man this country has been waiting to remember. See you on the next one. And thanks for spending the evening in a garage in Muncie with us.